We're now going to begin our showcase discussion panel. The panel will address the theme of distinguished communities, creating a local competitive advantage. And we have a number of distinguished panelists here today. The format will involve a brief comments and presentations from each member, and then we'll facilitate a discussion and encourage questions from the audience. I'll quickly introduce our panelists. The first one is Dr. Brent Ritchie, who has been introduced before. Welcome, Doctor. Our second panelist is Dr. Scott Carson, who is Director of the Queen's MBA program and Professor of Strategy. He comes to us with extensive private and public experience. He's a graduate of both Mount Allison and Dalhousie University, two wonderful universities down east, and holds a PhD from the University of London. Next, we have Lauren Millier, who brings a planning background to us. She's a graduate of the University of Waterloo with a bachelor's degree in environmental studies. She also has extensive public and private experience and set out on her own to create an economic development consulting service, Millier Dickinson Blay. So welcome, Lauren. And lastly, but not least, we have Brian Ritchie. Now, there's no relation. No relation. We don't want to stack the panel here. Unfortunately, one of the co-applicants of the KIS project, Mr. Dan Borowak, unfortunately couldn't be here today. So ably filling in for him is Brian Ritchie, who is an economic development consultant with the Rural Community Development Branch of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, where his work involves assisting municipalities with the development and execution of economic development strategies. He holds a master's degree in business administration from Wilfrid Laurier and an undergraduate degree in physics and education. Very interesting. So perhaps we'll begin. Lauren, do you want to step right up?
I would want to point out that although I come with a background in urban planning for about the last 15, 17 years, it's been focused exclusively in economic development. So having got a taste for site selection work and economic development strategic planning, I saw the light and I'm having a lot more fun now than I ever did as a planner. My presentation, and I'll keep it very brief because I know we're all pretty tight for time, is the whole notion of competitive advantage. Is it real or is it imagined? One of the things I wanted to point out, and I'm sure others have spoken about this today, is that the world is changing. Economic development is changing. The traditional economic development model has focused on place-based industrial recruitment and job creation as a means to stimulate economic growth. So if you had the industry and you had the sites, that would equal jobs, that would equal economic development. Instead of chasing industry today, though, we're chasing talent. And the new model has communities moving away from jobs based on physical activity or repetitive tasks to ones that require analytical skills and judgment. We refer to this now as innovation and talent, and that combined with quality of place is what we see as economic development. Give you a sense of some of the competing ideas that are out there, competing thoughts on where economic development is going and what it means to be a competitive community. One new approach that has emerged is the idea that the world is flat. Lowering trade and political barriers, exponential technical advances of the digital revolution now makes it possible to do business, or almost anything else, instantaneously with billions of other people across the planet. You may not agree with that. Another idea that's out there is the notion that, no, the world is spiky, it's not flat. This suggests that today's key economic indicators like talent, innovation, and creativity are concentrated in strategic areas. And one of the ideas that's been put forward by one of the individuals behind this, Richard Florida, is that 40 mega regions have less than 20% of the population account for 2/3 of the world's economic output. How do you compete with that? There's also the notion that the sky is falling. Changes are irreversible in some respects. Without cheap oil, globalization doesn't work. Local economy is about to make a big comeback under this scenario, resulting in changes in the way we eat, the way we consume. Using less energy in the future is simply not going to be an option. So understanding competitive advantage. Where does our competitive advantage exist? How did it evolve? And you need to answer these questions in your own communities. You also need to understand how that advantage can be further enhanced and how much money and time will it take, and is it worth the required effort? What one organization or group of organizations should be responsible for trying to enhance this advantage? Who are your partners? Where are your collaborators? And what specific steps should be taken? And you can appreciate, in order to answer these questions, you really need to understand your own communities better. One of the ways and means to do that, obviously, is to seek input and build consensus within your communities. And community and stakeholder consultation, at least in the work that we're involved in, involves local committees. It also involves your community leaders and your visionaries. And your visionaries can be 25 or 95. It involves talking to your politicians, because without them, you won't have much traction. Other levels of government, be it provincial or federal, and agencies of government, provincial or federal. Talking to your business and industry, but don't forget your entrepreneurs. As we heard earlier, small business is driving this economy in Canada. And the work that we do when we look at the municipalities that we're in tells us that an overwhelming number of businesses have less than 5 employees. So if you're focused on trying to attract industry and bring 200 jobs to town, maybe your time's better spent working with your small business community. You also need to understand the value of your volunteers and your community and industry associations and the contribution that they can make. Anybody here from Brockville? I had to ask that question. That's my hometown. That's where I grew up. And I was in my parents' house last night for a brief visit, and my father is 90 years old this year. No, sorry, I digress. 80 years old this year. It's not too old too soon, but the point will be the same. He's 80 years old, and he does more volunteer work than I have ever done in terms of organizing music festivals and organizing Probus clubs and organizing business association meetings for retired individuals that range in age from 55 to 95. So never lose sight of the value that your volunteer organizations and your retired people also contribute to your community. And then lastly, the use of social media tools. And I find this rather interesting because we have a population that is aging. It isn't as well adapted on the social media tools, but we put a lot of emphasis on how we should be using social media to reach our markets and reach our audience. But don't lose sight of the fact that you have a very significant portion of your population that isn't necessarily engaged this way. And then lastly, the use of interviews and focus groups and surveys in order to solicit input and information from your broader community. And we find when we're doing work in rural areas that we get a level of engagement in rural Ontario that we get nowhere else in any jurisdiction across the country. So they are engaged, they do care, and we can go into communities of 7,000 people and get 300 people to do a community survey. I can go into Calgary and I can get 45. You know, what does it tell you? We're busy lives, got things to do, but we're not vested in our big cities the way we're vested in our rural communities. And then lastly, the whole notion of strategic planning sessions and what you can work through with your community in terms of setting objectives and tasking organizations and groups with the type of work you want to do. So that's going to conclude my brief presentation. I think I kept it to 5 minutes.